Hello and welcome back to the Arc of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard brothers coming back to you in February.
Yes.
But it's a very special episode because this is Gavin's belated birthday bash.
Yeah,
Sorry. So I'll add the air horns in
Please
post, as always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a bit. We didn't do a 2x2 for January.
Nope.
Because Gavin locked me out of picking a movie.
Yes.
Because I told him he could basically pull the birthday card and make me watch whatever the hell he wanted, and he chose to finally make me watch Lockout, oft discussed, but not seen by me until a couple nights ago. So we're going to do that, and then we never quite finished our TV countdown.
Right.
So we never got to do the second part of that episode. We're now running on a brand spanking new refurbished-esque MacBook Pro.
Yes.
Procured by said birthday boy. And we're doing this professional for the first time. Gavin's so excited. He has cans on.
I know.
We have cans on. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing.
This episode is brought to you by Macari. Just want to throw that out there. Not really, but that's where I found this MacBook.
Brought to you by the seller who got you this MacBook.
Dickinson Computers out of
I'm honestly just excited because I see it has Logic already installed on it.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to see
hopefully
what sounds I can play around with that aren't part of GarageBand.
And the gigabytes, the 16 gigs of RAM should make everything pretty quick for you. And you got 1,000 terabytes worth of space, Noah.
It's running very smooth, so I think this is going to be the exclusive work laptop specifically for...
Right.
But yeah, if I end up doing music and podcast on this one, there's really no use for the other one because it's really all I use it for at this point. Like, I don't sit and surf the web on my MacBook. I do that on my phone, like a normal person. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find a use for the other one. Or maybe I'll sell it on Mercari.
Yeah.
Second plug. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect example. Can you hear yourself scratching your beard?
I can.
Okay, yeah, you do that a lot. I feel like the Samson's picking it up more.
Yeah, Samson's
it's
probably
just
picking
texture.
It up. I'm just going to sit on my hands.
It's just good texture. You do what you got to do.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Bring me down here.
It is very disorienting hearing yourself in the moment.
But that's what the professionals do, Noah. So we need to get it together. I spent 34 years without headphones on doing podcasts.
It's true. Doesn't it feel like an echo, though? Like you're an odd echo? Like a... just weirdly, milliseconds, you know what I mean?
It's like not uncanny valley, but whatever that like. It's like you hearing yourself.
It's definitely not the uncanny valley. That has nothing to do with the point you're trying to make.
I don't know certain terms. I don't know if I'm allowed to use certain terms, but it's that thing where like you hate how you sound on the video. It's
your birthday. You're allowed to do whatever you want on this episode, even though
I would just like to say,
technically
first off,
days ago,
34 years old, just a tad bit better than Jesus of Nazareth. Just saying. Did you see my Facebook?
I did.
Yeah. Patrick told me that, so I was like, that's a good one. I'm going to do that. Not saying I'm better than him, just saying I got better friends than he did. That's all. It's pretty smooth. I thought it was very clever. That's right, you did like it. I'm sorry.
Yes, I literally liked it, and I physically liked it, but that's in a digital space. So
yeah, did you not get your invite to my metaverse hangout for my birthday?
I did
not. You didn't show up. No one showed up, but you specifically didn't show up, so I was a little concerned. But
missed the boat on that one.
You
okay,
sure did.
Well,
Lockout.
It's your episode, so yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna make this a full-on like scene-by-scene recap.
No, we don't have to.
I did watch it.
And what did you think? Off the top of your head, just boom, first thing. I say Lockout. What do you say?
It was all right.
Yeah.
I had a decent time with it.
Decent. Was it a slugfest to get through?
No, because it moves.
Yes.
It's thankfully like $140.
Maybe close to 90 minutes.
Yeah. Trending towards 90 minutes.
Yeah.
This movie wants to be 90 minutes,
right.
But it might be 140. I don't know. Okay, and all I had as the setup was like, okay, this was the like basically Escape from Space, like straight rip of like John Carpenter. There was a lawsuit and they won. So I have that all going into this. Still don't know why I didn't watch it at the time, honestly, because I like Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
He's not like my favorite dude, but I enjoy his work. And this is what, 20, so it's 2012? 2012?
2012.
So yeah, technically.
I could have done it on a 2x2.
You could have done it as a 2x2.
But I figured as much as I've talked about it as many times as you've been like...
Was it a dumpuary movie?
Was it
a January, February? It feels like we might be right around the 10th anniversary of this.
Might be. Let me look it up.
But that's the reputation that it had going in, and of course it's become a notorious thing. It's much like Den of Thieves, which you had me watch at the beginning of last year. Just this run, or no, that was 2 years ago. That was the start of 2x2.
Came out in April.
Okay.
Weird.
So they were trying to make it like a summer thing.
Right.
But arguably, like, had Guy Pearce anchored, like, I feel like he's the thing that we enjoy about it, but I think he's also why the movie was not a success.
Possibly.
I feel like if they had a bigger name, like a name attached.
Yeah, I could see that.
Could have been a different story.
Yeah, because, I'm thinking there's not much that he's done, like, where he's the guy and stuff. Really, what would you say is, like, his big movie?
Memento.
Yeah, that. But besides that, because I know how you feel about Christopher Nolan.
If we're going a little bit, way less scene, obviously, and it's got a lot of other stuff going on in it, but when I think of Guy Pearce, I picture him in The Proposition.
Right.
That is what I picture.
That's what I'm thinking.
But again, I feel like that's still, even though it had its moment when it came out, it's a little underseen, underdiscussed still to this point. But the movie's also got, like I said, so much other stuff going on in it.
Yeah, and
the Danny Houston performance, which we haven't talked about in forever.
He's got Prometheus the same year in 2012 and Lawless.
Yeah.
He's one of those that's like, I've always wanted him to be the guy and stuff because I like him.
I forget where, I feel like it's another podcast I've listened to where they've discussed him, but he has that thing of, you think he should be a leading man, but his face is just a little off.
Like, yeah, it's not completely symmetrical like it's supposed to be for big movie stars.
Yeah, you have this thing where you don't quite trust him. So there's always this inherent, like, I don't know what's going on with this guy. So an odd choice in my mind for, like, what I had been led to believe was going to be like a Snake Plissken surrogate, stand-in for Snake. Mm-hmm. Snow, in this case.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, before we get into any specifics, having it pitched to me as like, oh yeah, they just straight up ripped off Escape from New York and Escape from LA. If nobody had told me that, I genuinely probably would have just watched this as like okay, cool concept. Because the president's daughter thing is not unique to Escape from New York. It wasn't prior to that or since that.
No.
I do think they have a little bit of a case, but here's the thing. The Snow character is vastly different from Snake.
Right.
He's much more of a motor mouth.
Right.
He's a smart aleck as
Yes.
opposed to a smart ass.
Right.
If you catch my drift.
Mm-hmm. No, totally.
He does.
He's not an outlaw.
He has the devil may care side, but he's just a little bit more of a prick about it.
Right. He's a government employee.
He's not as like cool. That's the thing. He's a CIA guy.
Right.
So you're like, he was within the system, and it's like Snake. You always get he's this, he's this begrudging anti-hero.
Right.
Period.
He's like what the system hates, and they're having to go back to that to get things done. Whereas, like, I don't know.
So that whole element, I was kind of able to watch this from the get-go, free of like, okay, well, I'm not looking for all of those parallels, but if I wanted to see them there,
they were there.
I was like, it almost is a tribute to both movies because, like, there's some trash CGI in this movie,
yes,
which is very akin to Escape from LA.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you could even look at it on a meta level like that.
Did you catch in the credits that it said based on an idea?
Based on an idea by Luc Besson.
No, based on an original thought.
Original idea. Yes, original idea by Luc Besson.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think I think the concept of prison colony, outer space, why not? Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, what's the story in there? Well, obviously it's got to be somebody breaking in or trying to break out, right? Okay. Right. All right, well, why are they trying? Like, I could see how it extrapolates from, like, that was the core idea, and then all of a sudden it vaguely starts to feel like escape.
Right.
And I feel like you could have diverted further away from that if you did some different things with your lead character, I think. But I think he's very different, so I immediately was off of the trail of, like, oh, this is a spiritual successor to Escape.
Yeah, and I never took it that way. It was never billed that way to me. I never
that became the story of it afterwards.
Right.
For sure.
And what is crazy is that during quarantine, this one popped back up on Netflix, and I read articles about how people were like, oh my God, what is this? I didn't know. Why did I not see this in 2012?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, I'm glad more people saw it, and I'm hoping that kind of maybe softens the narrative of like, oh, they definitely took this from, John Carpenter. And John Carpenter seems like the kind of guy that unless you're basically trying to remake a movie with like character names that he wrote down, he's not going to sue you.
Right.
Because he's spoken openly about how, like, Hideo Kojima, his lawyers were like, you could go after this guy. He's like, no, why would I? He's a nice guy and he's paid homage to the character. Like, I really like his work. I'm not going to go sue him.
Right.
Like that why? I don't need that.
Also, I love those games.
Right.
That's probably what he was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So,
auteurs know auteurs. It's like a thing in your brain. You see one, you're like, I know that guy. It's just the thing.
Okay. So, you got the opening, and it's the, what just happened. And it's essentially like, okay, what if we got to see the deleted opening of Escape from New York?
Right.
Like, here's how Snake landed in this position. So we get the little recap of how Snow got there. Some double cross. It's all very irrelevant. The action is like reasonably paced here. I do love when all of a sudden he's just on the freeway and it's like CGI galore, and
I thought it was a smooth transition from that into the subway station. Like when he rolls off the bike and it's like he's back to normal Guy Pearce. I was like,
yes,
not too bad.
And part of me thinks I'm like in 2012 probably held up a little bit better, and it's just it's one of those of the moment CGI things.
If you just watch the Matrix Revolutions, you can't go watch this and be like, oh yeah, great, it holds up. You can't, because it's just the advances in technology.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have that kind of breathless opening, catches back up to where, and he's being interrogated by Peter Stormare. So of course I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. Then we start getting our parallel stories. I'm like, isn't this movie about a prison colony? Like,
right.
I was like, when are we going to get to that? Because I figured that was going to be the cold open setup of like, the Snake setup. We're just introduced to him. He's getting off a bus. He's about to be headed there anyways. So basically, Guy Pearce's been set up. Snow's been set up. He's being sent to the colony. And in parallel to this, President's daughter is on a humanitarian mission, basically investigating like what's up with these prisons.
Right.
And they put him in like essentially like alien style like cryo sleep.
Right.
And there's a debate over like what happens to them in there, like whether it's ethical, all sorts of different crazy side effects. So basically, they take one guy out to show her like, and of course they pick the craziest fucker, one of the craziest fuckers in there. And it almost seems like, I don't know if they had the plan orchestrated. I guess we're meant to believe like, oh, if we're ever in this situation, here's what you do. Boom, boom, boom. But before you know it, he's basically released all of the prisoners, and they've taken over the place.
Right.
So in parallel to this, you have so Peter Stormare is kind of the hard ass who we're pretty sure is dirty.
Secret Service
for the get go, yes. And then
Lenny.
Snow's buddy is Lenny Clark from Walking Dead and a number of other things.
Low Winter Sun.
Oh, who could forget? With our boy Mark Strong.
Yeah, we could call him Morgan if you want, just to make it better, because I don't remember his name in Lockout. And you just call him Morgan. People know who Morgan is.
I think he's Lenny Clark. He's one of those guys. I mean, he's been around for a while.
But yeah, he's in a bunch of shit.
So they're basically like, hey, before you send in the cavalry, let us try the one man style. Like,
James.
What's that?
Lenny James.
Lenny James. Did I say Lenny Clark?
Twice.
Who's
You said
Lenny Clark?
I have no idea who Lenny Clark
Who the
is.
fuck is Lenny Clark?
Yeah.
Weird.
Just look at the rabbits, George. It's fine. Sorry, what?
Okay.
I feel like I'm funnier with the headphones on because I can hear my jokes not landing. It's great. So you got Lenny James.
You can remember to laugh at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Lenny James, yes. That gentleman.
Great British thespian, Lenny James.
Yes. Doing an American accent here.
Yeah.
Also very good at that as well.
He's
I love that Peter Stormare is always just Peter Stormare. Regardless of
how
like
that is a career I would love to track.
Oh, 100%.
I would love to I want to be a fly on the wall anytime he gets pitched something. Because he doesn't say no. He's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Dude,
it's like
Stormare cast.
Dude. I mean, if no one else has done it, why not?
I'm kind of shocked nobody else has done it. He seems like one of those dudes.
Yeah, because I mean, and the thing is, if you're just going to cover him in a movie, sometimes you don't really got to watch the whole movie.
True.
Back half Armageddon.
A series of scenes.
Yeah.
Like 2 scenes in Constantine, one of which is like, dude, that's, that third act scene where he shows up makes that movie. Okay. Back to Lockout.
Mm-hmm.
So they send Snow on board.
While they've sent a negotiator on board.
Yes.
And it's just like, this movie is full of like happenstance, like, just don't do it. It's like, if you just don't get goaded by the prisoner that just got woken up out of cryo sleep, Mr. Secret Service agent, you all go home. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. And that is to me my only problem with the movie. It's like there's such a like happenstance of, oh, this. It's like, no, again, I don't want to say it's not believable, but I mean, it's just like anybody that probably is in any sort of line of government work where it's like, security detail, they're not going to let themselves get rattled by whatever. Yes, you just flew to space. Yes, this is the future, whatever. People are crazy. It is what it is. But it's just the little bits of stuff.
We got these 2 brothers. The one who's initially let out basically looks like a Far Cry protagonist, or like he should be in Borderlands or something like that.
You know who they wanted to? They wanted to go for? They wanted to go for our boy Justin Theroux from the Charlie's Angels movies. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. They were looking for.
You get Justin Theroux in this movie, but we got something to talk about. That is honestly a huge kind of like.
What if he? So you think him for Snow?
I mean, I would have been down for that as well.
Yeah,
I think he's. If you look at Kevin Garvey,
yes,
and the kind of like.
And Zito, I
don't want to do this because it's fucking stupid. Like that attitude towards things, I could see that gets at the edges of what we like about Snake. I could see.
Yeah,
we never had that thought before, but like Theroux could do it.
He could do anything.
I think so.
Yeah. He could also be this villain too.
But no, that's what I'm saying. I think the villains are a huge missed opportunity.
Yes. There's no Duke. These guys, that's the big thing that like I feel like you miss when you're trying to like, let's just say that they're operating. We can just assume they're operating like we want to do an homage, or like we want to do our version of Escape from New York / LA. What do we do? The 2 best things to me about those movies that people don't think about because they're so focused on Snake is the Duke of New York is like one of my favorite just characters in a movie ever.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have much backstory. You just know he's the Duke of New York. And then you give me Cuervo Jones in Escape from LA, and they try to tell you, oh, he did this, he did that. But just his like Bobo Che Guevara look and like just off center, I'm like, I kind of respect the guy, but I got to kill him. Like that kind of thing. And his, his bravado, I love it because the places that they're sending this dude, no one wants to go because it's like, it's lawlessness. But the whole thing is, it's us. It's free. It's what we were. We're in a future where like we can't be who we might really want to be because it's all against the rules now. And I think that's what's missing from this. I mean, literally, this could have, you just correct me. I didn't really get into it. You said that Carpenter won the lawsuit, his team, or Luc Besson and them won the lawsuit.
I thought that basically they had to pay money, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah.
The producers and creators.
Right.
Besson had to pony up some dough for this.
Right.
I don't know who to exactly.
Probably just whoever owns the IP to whatever firm thing, AFCO Embassy, MGM, whoever.
So, my biggest sticking point that kind of turned me off to the whole thing.
What's that?
What the heck?
What happened? Did the screen just
Enter password?
Oh yeah, 1190. Did you have your screen settings on the old Mac to where it wouldn't like?
Hold on, is that so? It's just been recording us the whole time. I think it just went to a screensaver.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I haven't messed with the display settings, but it's been recording us still.
Yeah,
you think? We can leave all this in. It's my birthday. We can do whatever we want.
We're figuring it out, people.
Yeah.
New Mac, new setup.
Yeah, 34 years, no headphones, and a MacBook that actually works when you want it to. I bet the Pro's MacBook does that too. Just screensaver, still records. I mean, you got it plugged in, it's running. Who cares? We're legit, baby. It's
probably.
We're on the way up. You know, I remember the time that I got more than 10 likes on Instagram, and I told Mom, we don't have to live like this anymore. Go on. You were talking about the protagonist. You were talking about.
Oh, okay. So I liked the decision, and also thought it was ultimately where the movie unraveled.
Right.
They don't have her, thankfully, as like the princess in the tower, if you will, at the end game of this. Like, she's the ultimate goal. It's like he gets her out. So idiot dude who started the whole thing, right?
Right.
Is like, hey, come in here, you'll be safe, and like shoots the door. Immediately, like nitrogen starts like leaking in, and so they're basically like they're gonna die.
Did you not read the
unless
press release?
Snow gets there, and it takes him forever to realize that they're like on the verge of death too.
Yeah,
that all of that stuff was incredibly dumb. But
it's just a setup to do like look at this, we're gonna put a needle in this girl's eye trick. Oh yeah.
Yes, the weird hybrid of like it's the future, but like some things feel very like grounded and old school. It seemed like a selective future where I'm like, okay, so you guys have the technology to have this prison colony where like you have all of these guys in stasis and everything, but you don't have some sort of lockdown feature.
Right.
Like once they all get loose that just like fucking gasses everybody. That's not a guard, magically. It's like coded to their DNA. Like it's the future. Like what the...
And it's the one thing that's not in this movie that I would argue is why you shouldn't have been able to win a lawsuit. They don't put a bomb in him and say, you're going to blow up if you don't go up here. You're going up there anyway. And I'm thinking, wouldn't you put a bomb in every prisoner's neck so that if they do get out, you could just blow them up? I mean, come on. Yeah. He's got a collar thing. He blows someone's face off with it.
Right.
Like, could you that not be standard issue when you get to the prison? So, yeah, we let you thaw out and walk around every now and then. But if you get mouthy,
we didn't get like a full-on like suiting up montage or like here's your weapons. Because again, it's not that thing because it's like he is a CIA dude. Mm-hmm. This might as well just be another mission. It's just he also happened to be wrapped up in this thing where he was going to be sent to prison regardless.
And like he agrees to it only because like, his pal Lenny Clark is telling him that, you got
Lenny James.
I was waiting for you to realize.
Okay.
He's telling him like, hey, your guy that can like exonerate you, he got picked up. Again, in the dumbest move. He runs away from a cop and his gun falls out and winds up shooting a cop. So they take him into prison. Like, just all this fucking happenstance, man. The future is very whimsical. Like, shit just happens.
Yeah.
And you can't explain it.
Yes. So, like I said, they don't keep them apart. She's like part of the action for a bit, basically, after he rescues her. And this is where it starts to fall apart for me, which is like, I'm sorry. Snake Plissken would never behave the way that Snow does with this young female.
Of course not.
And I feel like that's part of the like European or French like comedy influence, which we've seen in movies like Wasabi, which we've covered on here, which is just like, oh yeah, it's got to be like this male-female sort of screwball comedy. We're going to put them in crazy positions where she falls on top of him or he falls on top of her, and like we're going to comment on it constantly. And it's not even a will they, won't they. It's like a why is this an element of it
right
kind of thing. And really just kind of soured me on his character in general, where I was like, hey, you're talking too much, dude. I wish you were a little more like too cool for school, a little more gravitas, a little less of a smart aleck, and a little more of a smart ass, as I said.
But if you want to get really like into it, you could be like, well, as an auteur, these guys are like, hey, what's every action hero do? They're like stoic and quiet. What are we gonna do? We're gonna make our action hero this wisecracking like Deadpool with no mask on kind of guy. Like he's trying to do everything he can, you know. And I don't know if the unrated R version on Blu-ray.
That was the other thing I wanted to ask you. Is I was baffled by why this movie was not a hard R.
Right.
And I do think some of the action sequences in the back half are a little lacking as a result.
Right.
And I thought they could have done more with the setting, honestly. There's that one kind of anti-gravity section where it gets turned off for a second. Again, a lot of coincidence and happenstance things that are just like but gets turned off. You think he's going to die. Of course not. And then he gets like thrust back up. Yeah, some of that just didn't like fully age well for me. And it was all right.
Yeah.
It was a fun little actioner. I think I had been led to believe that it was going to be like way worse than it. Like I enjoyed it for what it was.
Right.
But there was also just a lot of moments where I was like, yeah, you could have gotten out of your own way there. Like made it a little less misogynistic.
And that's
it's one of those
the main reason why I wanted you to watch it, you know? I wanted you to see that, like, don't take this as like, oh, they're, you know, a ripoff of Snake Plissken. Watch it for its own sake because it's not terrible. And I think if you go into it thinking like, oh, this is just a ripoff of Escape from New York, you're going to be a little bit, But, I mean, they could have done better, but it wasn't that bad. Again, I didn't go to theaters to see it, and I own it on Blu-ray, but I can't find the disc. And
I can't find it either. Apparently, you say you lent it to me, but I scoured this house and then rented it on Amazon Prime for $5.
I found the case, but the disc is not in the case. It's probably either
you
in
gotta keep your disc in the case
and get yourself some porcelain fountains. Okay, so that was Lockout.
That was Lockout.
Do you want to talk Scream 5 or Scream?
We can talk about whatever you want to. It's your
let's
birthday.
Talk Scream, man. How are you feeling about Scream?
Scream 2022?
Yeah.
I fucking loved it.
Thank you.
Really, really did. I had a great time at the movies. I went by myself. Opening night, Thursday night. Just the hardcore Scream fans in there.
Yeah.
A lot of other 30-plus year olds.
Of course.
And everybody seemed to enjoy it, man. I think we're all on the same page. For me right now, obviously I want to see it again. I know it's going to drop on Paramount Plus at the end of
either that or Peacock.
It's at the end of February. I'm pretty sure it's Paramount.
Okay.
Because this had a Paramount logo in front of it now, because it is no longer, of course, Dimension and all of that have just.
I was going to clear my throat over that name, but it's all good.
I wasn't even going to say it. I just like, all of that's been divvied up, and I don't know who got what, but I'm pretty sure I saw a Paramount logo before this movie started, so I think it's going to be
24 million budget, 107 so far
worldwide. Yeah,
not bad.
It did dethrone Spider-Man No Way Home for 1 week.
Yeah.
Granted, Spider-Man No Way Home had been out for like 5 or 6 weeks at that point.
Yeah.
But was very happy to see that. And just, again, a great time at the movies. With the trailers for this one, my biggest concern with all of these is like, just make it fun. I need it to be fun.
Yes.
Like, I don't want you to all of a sudden try and reconstruct what Scream is.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think I loved most about this movie is like, it knows exactly what these movies are. Mm-hmm. It knows just incrementally how much to update the metatextual stuff.
Right.
And the commentary. And I feel like there was a little bit of the like sequelitis. That's kind of what they're playing with. There's all the riff on like the Stab movies and everything. They're referencing the Saw movies and how like torture porn has been driven into the ground and everything. But it's a little less of that, and what it ultimately ends up being more about is like the types of kids that could possibly do this now, or like it's kind of ahead of its time on like the social media influencer side of things. So since that had already the I want to be a celebrity just for the sake of it. Like, I want to just like insert myself into this. And of course, it's a little more tied to her family. So I knew going into this, I was like, how are we going to bring in the legacy characters? And what I did like is, as much as I just want it to be like just the core three, just give me more of them. I liked that this one started to turn more of a corner into
this is what
a possible way forward if they want to actually. This felt more like the soft reboot or requel, which they literally talk about in the movie, that they maybe wanted 4 to be, but it's like I feel like we all took 4 for granted.
We did,
because I saw it in the theater. There was nobody there that opening weekend. I feel like the fandom had kind of died down for it. People were skeptical, even though it was everybody back. Mm-hmm. It was Kevin Williamson back writing it after taking 3 off, Wes Craven, and your core people. And I had a great time with it in the theater, but again, I even kind of took it for granted. It took me a little while to rewatch it, and then I'm like, in retrospect, it's so good. It's right up there with the first 2. And I think inarguably at this point, 3 is the bottom of that totem pole, but we still will always have a very soft spot for it because it's the first one we actually got to see in a theater after becoming obsessed with the franchise. On home video.
No, if you want to get serious, the reason why we both loved it is because essentially we could have been the 2 people in the new Scream remake as much as we love that franchise. If we were upset with how this Scream in 2020 happened,
absolutely. Okay,
we would totally be.
I was kind of staying general, but obviously now it's been out for a little bit. It'll be streaming soon. If you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead like 10 minutes. I don't think we'll take much longer than that. Here's the thing. Did you call it, and if so, when did you call the killer?
Oh.
Or killers?
I don't remember a time I turned to Bex and was like, it's this one. But I definitely was like, anytime it's like, oh, this isn't who you think you're talking to, I'm like, oh, it's definitely that person you think you're talking to. They're doing it.
Okay.
Because Boyfriend was a surprise for me. Because I did not want sweet, lovable Jack Quaid.
Well, okay, let me take you through my trajectory.
Yeah.
Because the marketing campaign I thought was fantastic from the get-go. We've talked about the poster, which was the killers on this poster. I'm like, clearly, obviously, you put everybody in the cast on it. Mm-hmm. It's one of these people.
Let me ask you a different one. Did you think the killer was one of the legacy characters?
No.
Okay.
No, and I know people always wanted it. People were floating that for 4 as well. Right. And I was just like, there's no fucking way.
Right.
I would love, if done well, I would be totally fine with a movie that got to that point where like one of them snapped and, you know, if they did it right. But at the end of the day, do I want that? No, I don't want that movie. So I'm glad we didn't get that. From the get-go, just when they announced the cast and I was looking at it, I was like, they're going to do a mirror of the first one.
Right.
And it's going to be 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, based on the cast, it's going to be Kyle Gallner.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be Dylan Minnette, I think.
Yeah.
The 13 Reasons guy.
Yeah, him.
Okay. So, sit down for the movie. And I've seen a second trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I'm pretty sure Kyle Gallner gets killed. So, not him unless it's a fake out. Because you never know. And then as soon as they introduced that Dylan Minnette's character was Deputy Judy's son, I was like, no, okay,
can't be.
Not him. So I was immediately off the trail of those. And in my head, I've been like, okay, well, if it's not one of those 2 guys, it's definitely going to be Jack Quaid. Because I was like, just because of the name, I was like, he's got enough cred from the boys. People like him. It'll be enough of a misdirect because they're bringing that baggage that it'll work.
Yeah.
But I was like, but there's got to be another one. I was like, they're not going to pull it was Roman thing from
That's
3 where you're like,
reason
where you're like, there's no way he did all of this. It's impossible.
Right.
Like
that. And to me, that's the only reason why that one is not a masterpiece, people. If you somehow added one more.
You try and lampshade it with, Randy being like, all belts are off. Like the killer can be superhuman. They could be anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And they pretty much abandon all rules of like, him being able to be everywhere simultaneously.
Right.
So I was like, I don't feel like they're going to do that again. Sitting watching the movie. We have our opening sequence. There's a character harmed, and then her estranged sister shows back up. And when the friends reconvene in the hospital, I was like, oh, I didn't see her in any of the trailers. I was like, you're telling me homegirl from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of the Manson girls, is in this movie? I was like, okay, that's the second killer right there. And within that sequence, they're over Jenny Ortega's character's bed.
Mm-hmm.
And there is just, it is a glance exchanged between the Amber character
and I didn't even pay attention.
There's a glance exchange between them, and I'm just sitting there going like, well, it's not her checking him out because it's like, oh, look at Sam's hot new boyfriend, or like judging him or whatever. It's this look where I was just like, what? I was like, there's no reason for that shot to be in there, except for when we go back to see like, oh shit, okay. So I clocked it right there. But then the beauty of these movies, of course, I spend the rest of the runtime going like, oh, no, but it can't be because of this and this and this. And I kept second guessing myself all the way up until the end where it's revealed that, oh, yep, it was both of them. You hit the nail on the head.
I love that he was like, yeah, fucking Dewey told you, boyfriend. I'm surprised you didn't leave then.
This guy called it immediately. Yes. Dude, that was the other thing, is his turn to being a piece of shit like worked so well. Hold on, we're getting an update right now.
Oh yeah, we haven't filled everybody in on that. What's been going on?
Okay, all right, guys. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx it at the opening of the podcast. I've been a little on edge in the midst of the recording of this because had a little health scare with our number one mascot here at the Archivy, Fife Dog, my tabby cat. Veronica's been at the vet with him for like the last hour and a half because he was having some breathing trouble earlier. They've done the x-rays. It sounds like it's just asthma. They're going to get him on some steroids, but he's chill. And it looks like he'll be able to come home tonight. So I'm gonna have to go get her in a little bit.
Yeah, no, we'll be done then. That's not what we have to do.
But I just want to let you know why this episode is potentially going to be short. But here's what we will do as we're wrapping this out.
Yeah.
We're going to run through our list of TV, our top 10 that we didn't finish. Mm-hmm. And then I just want to let people know right now, what you're going to hear on the end of this episode is as much as we recorded of that TV episode a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So this is going to be a weird Frankenstein mishmash of Gavin's belated birthday bash and TV from 2021. We'll figure it all out. Episode's going to be a mess.
We'll do it in post. You were talking...
Actually, I won't do anything in post. We're keeping all of this. I'm just letting you know. But yes, the important thing is Fife is all good.
Yes. But where were you going with your thought? In you know...
We were talking about Jack Quaid. Where were we at?
Yeah. You clocked it then. He was his turn to be menacing.
His turn to... Well, yes. I liked it, especially with the trajectory of... They're pissed off fans. They're toxic fans, essentially.
That was my... Yeah.
And dude, when they explain, oh yeah, that guy who did Last Jedi, when they're basically like, yeah, Rian Johnson directed the last Stab movie in the context of the Scream universe.
Right.
And all the fans hated it. And so now the current murders that are happening are in response to
Rian
Johnson ruining the Stab franchise. That is when I literally wanted to stand up and just applaud Radio Silence and everybody who took the... Just, I genuinely think, and the cast has echoed this as well, if Wes Craven, on whatever plane he exists on now, was able to see this, I think he would doff his cap to it. I think he would be like, you know what? Good job, guys.
Yeah.
I think they fucking nailed it, dude. They paid tribute to everything we love about them. Mm-hmm. They didn't fuck with the formula too much. The kills were a little bit more brutal, which I liked, but like 4 escalated things a little bit. 3 is a little muted in retrospect. It's tonally the darkest.
Yes.
Arguably. Mm-hmm. But kill-wise, a little more muted, and the fun factor is jacked up. Part of that is just Parker Posey, but
right.
Yeah. So back to Scream 2022 or Scream 5, whatever we want to call it.
Well, no, and I just think it's interesting because like they're like, oh, it's all going back. If you're telling me in 3 that it's like, well, really, it was actually your half brother, and like he set all this in motion. But every time since then, any mention is just down to like, Billy Loomis, Stu Macher, they did all this stuff. So it's like no one wants. It's like even the franchise itself doesn't want to comment on the fact that Scream 3 was Scream 3. You know what I mean? Because they talk about how like in Scream 3 they're like, oh yeah, this stab movie, you're Ricky, you're replacing Randy. People are mad that they killed Randy off, and it's like, well, Randy actually died in the context of these movies, so like what the hell? Why would people be mad? So it's kind of like there's a little bit of bricklaying, like ground laying for that. And you think about it, like that's 2000. And 11 years later we get, Scream 4. And then 11 years later we get Scream 5. So 2032, I'm ready for it.
But that's part of me doesn't want them to take a break, but also is like, if this is where they want to leave it for a while, like totally, I had a blast with it. Okay.
Yeah. I give it a 4 out of 5, just because it's not like I don't know.
I gave it a rock solid 8.5. Just because
fair.
There's like, I mean, there's elements of it that I would have tweaked here and there or whatever. Ultimately, this is present in all of the movies, but we do lose a huge legacy character here. Another thing I called before the movie started, because I was talking about this with Sunshine Mayfield, co-host of Bending Not Breaking, who's a huge Scream fan in his own right, and I was just speculating. I was like, they have to kill one of them, because the fact that they all made it through 4 was incredible to me. But you get to the end of 4 and you're like, but fuck yeah, dude, I just want my three bros to be together, essentially. Right. Like, I need it to be the 3 of them. But I knew going into this, I was like, there's gotta be real stakes. So I said one of them is gonna die. I called it immediately. I was like, the smart decision is Dewey. Yeah. I said the most emotionally impactful that you can do of the 3 would be Dewey. I was like, Sydney is too upsetting, because if you do it wrong, it's Halloween Resurrection. Now, if you do it wrong, she is... Sorry, we don't have to go off on this tangent, but no. In my personal pantheon, Sidney Prescott is right there with Laurie Strode. Of course. As iconic horror female protagonists. I think Neve Campbell was fucking brilliant and always has been, and she kills this role every time she returns to it. Okay? But I was like, if they do it wrong, this becomes the movie where they fucked that up. But I was like, and then if you do Gale, I was like, you don't want to lose that. Aww. You don't want to lose that element. I was like, but I knew Dewey would tug at the heartstrings the most.
Of everyone. It's all about him.
And it did.
Like the theme, when it comes up, the theme of him, like, oh man, dude. I didn't realize this. Did they mention it in Scream 4? Because I remember, I've kind of missed it. Did they mention that she chilled with Dempsey and like they had a family then? They don't mention him at all in 4, right?
Okay, no. So that could be some headcanon. That could be. Because it is very odd that at the end of 3, he's just hanging out with them.
Well, she says, like, Mark and the kids, and I'm like, okay, so she got with the cop. Like,
Did she say Mark?
She said, yeah, Mark and the kids. It says here she's married to Dempsey. Like, they started a family. That's why I asked if they mentioned it in 4.
I cannot wait to rewatch this movie
I'm telling
again.
you.
See, even that, dude, where I was like, I picked up on all the little things. But when she said she was married with kids, I just assumed, I was like, but she never mentioned anything in 4.
Right.
That I remembered anyways. And so I just assumed, like, okay, she wrote the book and, like, maybe she met somebody in the, like, aftermath of that or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, 3... But then you are like, so is he retired? Because it's like, if not, where's Dempsey? Like, get him back in the mix,
that's what
man.
I'm saying.
I'm here for it.
That would have been, because I'm thinking the entire time, I'm like, who could we have that's been
But
in one of these?
So she says Mark and the kids.
Yes.
Detective Mark Kincaid.
She just said Mark. She just said, I got to get back to Mark. Mark and the
But
kids
no,
are fine.
that's all I need, though. If
she just said the name Mark, and I was like, is she talking about fucking Mark Kincaid from the third movie?
If that is in fact true,
Are you
this
taking
movie
it to a 9?
Retroactively goes up to a 9.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
does. But here's the other thing. Because, again, we all agree 3 is arguably the most derided, even though we have a lot of love for it.
Mm-hmm.
When they are like, these are Randy's niece and nephew.
Oh, my God, dude.
I was like, are you about to show me
Martha.
Heather Matarazzo right now?
I turned to Bex.
I was like, are you serious
I turned to Bex in the theater. I was like, oh, Martha! Martha! She was looking at me like I was crazy.
That is my thing, though. I'm like, to get me that excited about, like, literally Heather Matarazzo showing up and, like, with a tray of lemonade and delivering a line of dialogue where I am like, dude, this is the equivalent of, like, Toby and Andrew showing up in No Way Home. Like,
yeah.
I had that level of reaction to it almost, and I'm like, I love these movies way too much.
Yeah. No, dude, when they pull back to the party, I turned around, I was like, they're in fucking Stu Macher's house. No, they didn't do the pullback yet. I'm just watching party scenes, and I looked at her like, they're in fucking Stu Macher's house.
It caught me off guard.
And she was like,
which I think they wanted it to, because they set you kind of in it already.
No, just the way that they pull back and she's watching TV on the couch, and the door frame that went into I was like, they're in fucking Stu Macher's. I called it. Becky didn't know what I was talking about, because I made her watch a 10-minute recap of the entire franchise on YouTube. I'm like, just listen to this before you go watch this. I know you may have seen a few. Just watch this. You'll understand it. And so she kind of didn't get me freaking out at some stuff, but for the most part, she was like, I liked it. I think if I'd have made her watch all of them back to back and then we'd go.
Did I tell you?
No.
So in the 2 days prior,
Right.
not that I needed to, because I've seen all of these movies a ton of times, except for 4, which this was only like my 5th or 6th time back through
again.
4. But no, I did 1 and 2 the night before, and then I had a half day on the Thursday that it came out. Mm-hmm. And I came home. So what I did is I did 1, 2, and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to fit everything in. I was like, I'm going to jump to 4. I'm going to sacrifice 3. I'm going to jump to 4. So I watched the first like 15, 20 minutes of 4 after 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I go to work the next day thinking, I have to work all day, but I'm going to the night showing. I'm not going to have time to cram in. I'll have time to finish 4, but not do 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Well, luckily I get there. There was a scheduling thing where essentially it opened up for me to be able to go home midday. And I was like, oh, yes, I will definitely take you up on that. I immediately went home and I was like, so I can fit in 3, throw in 3, roll right back into the last like hour and 20 minutes of 4 that I had left, and then drive 5 minutes to the theater and walk in, sit my ass down, and I'm watching
Hell
5.
yeah. That's
So
what I'm
within the
talking
span
about.
of 48 hours, I watched all 5 of them. And what a fantastic experience. Okay, back to the Randy niece and nephew, particularly his niece. She is on Yellow Jackets, a show that will retroactively now come up on my TV list now that it is concluded. Absolutely loved her. The whole requel conversation, like in the center, I was dying laughing. I also it didn't hit as hard for everybody in the theater. But Jenny Ortega in the opening was like, ask me about the Babadook. Ask me about the witch. Like, ask me about elevated A24 horror, basically. I thought that was great.
Me too.
But the payoff of, I still like the Babadook at the end of the movie.
Yes.
For me, was just a chef's kiss. I don't think it hit as hard for a lot of other people in the theater, but she was like, I still prefer the Babadook. I thought that shit was hilarious.
Yeah, Randy's niece, the entire movie, like her going downstairs to get beers, like you didn't ask, like yeah.
That interplay between her and Amber is fantastic. Well, because I am the killer.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And the nephew with his girlfriend, was, I'm not 100% sure you're not the killer.
Yeah.
Like all of that.
But it's so good
really
because like
for me.
You go right back to Randy in the first and be like, oh, I'm so glad. I've never been so glad I'm not a virgin. I'm not a virgin. Or I'm a virgin.
I just wanted to shout. It's Jasmine Savoy Brown.
Yeah.
She plays Mindy Meeks Martin, and she's also on Yellow Jackets as Thaisa. And you also remember her. Season 2 of The Leftovers.
Yeah.
As Evie.
Mm-hmm.
Very important character.
Bro, that was like, why do I know this girl? It's definitely Evie because I get so fucking pissed off at her. It's like, you bitch. Sorry.
Highly recommend Yellow Jackets if you haven't seen it. We have Showtime through Mom and Dad. If you ever want to.
Wait, so we can do Showtime on Prime now?
No, you can do Showtime through the Showtime Anytime app. You just log in with their Spectrum info, basically the same way we get into HBO Max.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I definitely want to watch Dexter.
You can do that.
Okay, good.
You should also watch Yellow Jackets.
Okay. I'll watch those Yellow Jackets.
But yeah, we don't have to go into like every other little bit of it. I will just wrap back around. Again, it happens in all the movies. There's always a sequence where you're like, wait, so that was that person in the costume at the time?
Yeah,
like,
I didn't.
Fucking kidding
that's
me?
the only thing I didn't.
The fact that you realize retroactively that it's Amber who killed Dewey. Not that it like necessarily. I saw a lot of reaction online where it's like, oh come on, you're telling me that little girl like, and I was like, yes, because we all saw it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I buy her batshit crazy energy. Like I buy that she could jack herself up to that. What I don't buy is the fact that it looks like Jack Quaid is wearing that Ghostface's costume in that sequence because of how tall he is.
Right.
And of course you're sitting there going, well, it can't be Jack Quaid because he's wounded on the ground and now he's in the elevator. And like, so it clearly has to be her. But I loved the, like, you have to shoot him in the head. You got to go back. Like the second he was like, I got to go back, I was like, oh, Dewey. Oh, man.
And now, assuming you're going to get the upper hand, of course, yeah, we know that was Swayman's last words. How fucked up is it that, like, your partner is like, oh, I'm down for him to just go back and blow your face off because I get out of this scot-free. I just did these murders and I'm going to get off scot-free. No one's going to expect me unless somehow they like go pull a DNA thing or not DNA. They go pull data and like, oh, well, you and this Amber girl were talking a lot, but y'all don't know each other. What's up with that, bro?
Yeah.
And then he's going to get found out. So it's just weird. It's like, oh, you guys are working together. Oh, you put yourself right there in the danger. But then like, yeah, I didn't believe this tiny little girl. Here's how like mad I was about him. I looked at Bex and I was like, it's not him. She's like, what? I was like, in my mind, I'm going, well, you know, there were 2 dead bodies in there. We don't see Dewey's dead body. We just see a body bag. There were 2 officers. So what if he is not dead,
Dude,
but they're letting him think he's
dead?
To
believe it. Here's how much it crushed me. And again, the symmetry of we have seen Scream 1. He comes out on the gurney at the end. Mm-hmm. Scream 2 comes out on the gurney at the end. Mm-hmm. Makes it out. Scream 3, I mean, we see that he survives, but again, injured, of course. But to have the shot of the gurney coming out, and it's like you're expecting to see the shot of like, but Dewey made it, and it is the body bag. I didn't go the route you did, where it's like, oh well, maybe it's not him. I was devastated. I was like, what a great like mirroring of like we've seen that shot so many times in this series, and this time he doesn't make it out. All of that totally fucking played for me. Like you said, bringing the theme back in. And you need it to be... I get it, though, because you need it to be Amber, because when Sydney and Gail show up and do their badass, like, thing at the end, it's all directed towards Amber, and it needs to be because Sam, who they're trying to kind of... Which is the other element that kind of keeps it from being, like, a full-on, like, fuck yeah to me, is... I like that we're turning that corner of like we had more of the kids arguably than we did in 4. But I wasn't totally sold on Sam as a protagonist. Part of that is like being saddled with the whole, we don't have to right now, but the whole Billy, like Ghost Billy totally played for me, dude.
Skeet's
like
looking really good these days.
De-aged Skeet. Yeah, I was like
looking really
so
good.
Not expecting to see that. And here's another thing. Again, you and I haven't talked about it on mic, but so much of what I loved about Matrix Resurrections, another movie that's circling in similar territory of meta and reckoning with like Lego sequels and all of that, was the idea that everything matters. and like we're not ignoring any of it. We're not picking and choosing. We're gonna make all of this like it all mattered kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we have Martha Meek showing back up and like these few other touches or whatever, but the element of Ghost Billy for me was a direct connection to what I thought was always to me one of the few times I get genuinely scared in this whole franchise is the ghost of Sydney's mother in 3.
Oh yeah.
The 2 sequences, the dream sequence out at her cabin when she's all isolated, and the kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street body bag callback when they're in the Woodsboro set house in 3. I think those genuinely creeped me the fuck out in a way that nothing else in this franchise does.
It's not even that, dude. It's the fucking picture of her mom and how they make the fucking face look like it's
turning its eyes on you. Oh no, 100%.
That is
like
the
she's
worst.
turning evil. Yes, all
like,
of that.
You thought I was Maureen? No, I'm actually
that
Maureen.
stuff is so effective. So I liked, not that I thought Billy was like scary in this, but I thought it was a nice connective piece of like the franchise. It's like this was an element, whether you thought it was something that worked or not. In 3, he drifted a little bit into like, I'm gonna play with some of the daydream, like a little bit of the dreaminess of Nightmare, but I'm gonna put it in the Scream context, and those sequences always really worked for me in 3. So I looked at it as like kind of a connection to that. But yeah, I think it's because some of the other side characters are so compelling, particularly like, Randy's niece and nephew, and Jack Quaid, that like Sam kind of fades to the background a little bit.
Yeah.
So when they want to make that turn towards the end of like it's her, Sydney, and Gail, it doesn't fully work for me. But anyways, I get why you needed Amber to be the one who ultimately did Dewey in, so that that's who they're going up against, while Sam is dealing with Jack Quaid's character. Can't remember his name.
Me neither.
And yes, of course, I loved that Amber was shot, stabbed, and set on fire, just like she is at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right, yeah.
Yes. And the fact that she comes back, like, half burnt, You gotta have that.
And I do, again, on the whole, though, going toward like the end shot of like the brother and sister coming out and thumbing up each other as they're being put in the ambulance. I'm like, perfect. Because if you told me both of them got slain, I was like, come on, man, you gonna do that to Martha? You gonna take her brother and you gonna take her kids? She's not gonna handle this shit. But the fact that they're like, we're good, like it's okay, we're not dead. Like I appreciated that more than anything. So
for sure,
yeah, definitely.
They did a great job with it. Like we said, if this is it, totally understand.
It's not gonna be it, dude. There's a fucking flash of the killer in front of the farmhouse at the very end, like every other movie. Like they're gonna make another one.
Oh, is there like a post?
You didn't see that?
Credit? I didn't stay for the.
You don't like how in every one there's like one final last shot of Ghostface.
Did they do the roll call credits?
Yes,
to a song. See, I think I had to pee or something. For some reason, I ran out, and I was expecting that because I always love that when it's like, yeah, it was a crazy time, but like. We had fun making this. Yeah. Check out this old school. I love that shit.
Yeah.
So,
cut, print, check the gate.
Yeah. But yeah, dude. No, as far as we could have a whole conversation about Legacy sequels and just the recent spate of them. But I feel like
that's a Blanchard brothers Blanchard conversation.
Very much so. And I feel
at
like
least a Scream.
That's also
franchise.
I need to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife so I can have an opinion on it conversation. But I feel like it's becoming and I really would like to investigate the ones that have done well and the ones that haven't. And I'd like to reassess the entire Scream franchise with them as well. Because right now, this is like, I think this is floating right around the midsection. I don't know if I like this more than 4 or just as much as 4. 1 and 2 are always going to be my tops, but I could change my mind.
Yeah.
So we'll try and coordinate that with them, and I think probably wrap in a little bit of a Halloween Kills, possibly extended cut conversation.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We never got to do that properly,
especially since it's ending later this year.
Yes. So
I don't have my list of TV in front of me. I can tell you my last 2. Oh shit, is it on the floor?
It's not numbered.
Oh god.
So you can retroactively make this the official record.
I think I might.
Okay, so we're gonna again, We're going to run through our top 10 favorite TV shows of 2021, and then either on the end of this episode or in a bonus episode that'll drop in this feed right afterwards, you'll get what we were able to record of our actual countdown. So if you want to hear more in-depth discussion of some of these shows, check that out. If not, stick around. We are going to do an in-depth Cobra Kai Season 4. We're going to do it.
Yes,
we know people want us to talk about it. We will do that very soon, along with an announcement of a new 2x2 for February.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we will finally be revealing our top 10 favorite movies of 2021, since we're pretty much done catching up with everything.
Right.
I have seen about 5 or 6 that were lingering ones, and I still have a bunch that I want to get to, but I'm down to record that one pretty much whenever. So, but for now, your top 10 favorite TV shows of 2021.
Okay. Number 10 is Squid Game. Number 9 would be Mayor of Easttown. Number 8 is going to be Hacks. Number 7 would be Station 11.
Had you finished it?
No, I was in the midst of it. I was waiting on it to get done.
Okay. That is a topic for a whole other podcast, but you and I should definitely discuss that show. I have never felt more disconnected from the critical discourse around a show of something that I apparently was supposed to love, but felt pretty much indifferent towards the entire time I was watching it. But somehow stayed compelled through it.
Yeah.
We can't go off on the tangent. We will talk about it for like an hour, but I'm so curious what you liked about it, and I'm so excited to share with you what I thought just patently did not work about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What number was I on?
I'm so sorry. 7 or 6, somewhere in there.
6. 6 would be Midnight Mass.
Gavin literally has a sheet of paper with unnumbered TV shows, and he is picking at random.
I honestly don't even think this was like... No, 6 is not Midnight Mass. 6 is Them.
Okay.
5 is Midnight Mass.
All right.
4 is... excuse me. 4 is Loki.
Okay.
3 is Res Dogs.
Okay.
2...
This is right around where we lose the podcast,
right.
by the way.
2 is Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 is... Hi, I'm Dave.
Dave season 2.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. My top 10.
Go.
Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
Number 10. Do you know the basic premise?
I literally did not say anything but the number and the name. Please keep going. It's my show. I do what I want.
Midnight Mass, number 9.
Uh-huh.
Number 8, Invincible. Number 7, Mayor of Easttown. A lot of repeats here. Number 6, The North Water.
Shit.
Number 5, How To with John Wilson, Season 2. Number 4, Dave, Season 2. Number 3, Succession, Season 3. Number 2, Pen 15, Season 2, Part 2, which is the final batch of episodes of that series. And my number 1 TV show, feels weird to even call it that, of 2021, is The Underground Railroad from Barry Jenkins.
Good choices. Yellow Jackets, what is it?
So Yellow Jackets is on Showtime.
Uh-huh.
That should be your number 1 priority when you sign up for it.
Dexter, but go ahead.
In 1996-ish, a girls' soccer team from New Jersey is flying to nationals. They won state. They're flying to nationals. Plane goes down.
I've heard about this.
They're in the wilderness.
Yes, I've heard
for
about
a
this.
while. Nobody really knows what happened out there.
True story?
No, fuck no.
Oh, never mind then.
25 years later,
one person was walking out of the woods.
some of the survivors they've been they were in the woods for a period of time. We think it's probably a little over a year. We're not quite sure. It might have been longer than that. They kept it purposely kind of vague. But anyways, 25 years later, the chickens are coming home to roost, y'all, essentially, okay? I don't want to say too much more than that. The main hook of the show for people like you and I, three of the core lady. It does have a lot of Twin Peaks vibes.
Sure.
In some aspects. 3 of the core survivors are played by Melanie Linsky. You're kind of like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Christina Ricci.
Oh.
And Juliette Lewis. So, here's some 90s ladies you haven't seen in a little bit.
Who's the third one that I don't know?
Melanie Linsky, you do know. You just don't know that you...
What do I know her from? Tell me a thing I would know her from right now.
Oh, my God.
Just off the cuff.
Did you watch Don't Look Up?
Yes.
She was DiCaprio's wife in Don't Look Up.
Cool. What would I know her from the 90s? Like you said, this was a whole 90s.
Heavenly Creatures? She's the one who's not Kate Winslet?
All right. Don't know. I thought you were going to give me like a Now and Then remake. Like, with all the girls from that.
No, Melanie Linsky works all the fucking time. Like, she's been around. Not that she's like a 90s. I'm saying Christina Ricci and Juliette Lewis are the
I know
are the like 90s icons you haven't seen in a while, now coming back. That's kind of the exciting draw for a lot of people. That was a little bit of the hook. But you're getting this parallel narrative of what happened in the wilderness and what's going on with them present day. And so you're constantly trying to figure out, it's a mystery box show in a lot of ways. But it's fucking good. It's entertaining as hell. Super great first season. Like my favorite new show that I've started in a while. So yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, Yellow Jackets rocks. That snuck into.
You had a text message while I was looking at your phone.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Probably need to
be wrapping this up.
Yes. Okay.
I just want to tell you, I've in the midst of all this and watching all this TV, I've burned through 5 seasons of ER.
Oh hell yeah, it's on HBO Max now,
yeah,
right?
Lucy just showed up, and already I'm like, no.
Okay,
but there's so much fucking shit I missed, dude.
We don't have time.
Oh no.
Okay, maybe I will dive back in.
I knew what they were getting into. I say, let the
Let
podcast crash. Appreciate the birthday podcast, Noah. This is fun.
What's the
Stephanie? Is it Stephanie? Susan? Stephanie? What?
Oh my God. Sheila,
yes.
Sheila, they bought their tickets.
They knew what they were getting into. I say,
let them crash. That is how we will be ending the podcast for all of 2022.
Yeah,
let it crash.
I feel like we should just change it to Let It Burn. Just because, I want to tell you this story on mic real quick.
Oh my God. I'm going to be in so much trouble.
Oh, you have to go?
Yes, I do.
You've been having to go, or this was the message? Where the hell are you?
I think Homeboy is ready to leave the vet.
Okay.
Like, he's in his case, and I just need to go.
Can he kick it, Noah?
What? Yes, he can. Yes, he can. What?
Can he kick it?
Yes, he can.